Morning everybody. Al Emery and Kathy Davis here at Momentum. Thank you very much for joining our webinar. We've got a really well-attended session today, which hopefully shows the level of interest in the improvements that have just been released by MYOB. Both ourselves and our customers have, been waiting for quite some time to see some good improvements in the payroll application, which probably has been the weaker part of the MYOB Advanced suite. But MYOB have done a hell of a lot of work over the last 12 months or so and released a number of new features into the Advanced Payroll module. And so we're going to cover today, and Kathy's our subject matter expert on payroll, does the vast majority of our MYOB Advanced Payroll implementations. So she's going to be taking you through these features. They are new features to us, but we've obviously spent quite a bit of time making sure that they're all working in our demo environment so you can really see a clear picture of how they work. And as you can see from the agenda, we're going to be going through firstly the employee self-service features, especially around leave requests, and then how that looks from the payroll administration perspective, as well as the line manager with calendars. There's now an ability to import timesheet data from external applications like time and attendance solutions, as well as the internal MYOB Advanced project time cards. So we'll take you through an overview of that, and then go through the improved reporting and analysis options that have been introduced, the termination improvements and processing public holidays. There's a couple of other things in there as well that we will get to time permitting. So I'll hand you over to Kathy, and she'll be using our demonstration system and taking you through each of those features.
So what I was talking about was the self-service area and being able to see the contact details, the employment details and various other components of the employee and how they're employed with the company, also being able to download pay slips and being able to also apply for leave. This is all done through their own self-service area, which is only the area accessible for them with the appropriate roles and licenses. You can also view team calendars, so for your manager or your actual team leader, whoever they've actually got under them set up within the company tree and approvals, they can approve leave and also see their employees' calendars. For having a look at the actual product. All right, so looking at the actual payroll component, on the left-hand side, there's this whole section which is the employee self-service, and that has areas that the staff will have access to. So when taking a look at the contact details, you can see that the staff member can actually update their name and address details, their phone, so their general contact details, and also any attributes that you have for them set up. Once you get into the employment area, that is view only, and we'll have all their pay balances for the year as well. The super has, of course, their superannuation fund details. They will still have to get in contact with the payroll paymaster to actually change this part of the information, but at least they can check where their super is currently going. And the other area is to be able to download their own pay slips. With the calendar area, if I actually have a look, I can look at my team's leave. So these are the people that I have within my team, and I can see what leave they've actually got planned and who and when, so I can do my scheduling of if other people would like to have leave. Right, so that's pretty much, yeah. All right. Now, with the leave requests, the new area actually allows you to manage the leave from a payroll person's perspective, from a manager's perspective, and also from the employee as far as putting in leave applications. So we'll go through an approval process from the time the employee puts the actual leave request in to a manager approving it or not approving it, and then to then take it from the approved area and put it into the actual pay run that it applies to. So if we take a look at that, we can see here that we have our leave request area.
Yeah.
And I personally currently have a leave that I've applied for, which is approved but not been taken up. And as an employee, I can come in and add another request. What sort of leave do I want? And I've actually made these particular leave pay items available for being able to be used. So if you don't want people to take long service leave through this system, you don't have to actually mark long service leave as something that can have leave requests. Or for compassionate leave, you might have a more stricter method of doing it outside of this, and that's going to be the business's decision as to what pay items will be able to be put up here to actually use within the leave requesting area. So I want to take some more leave. And I'm going to say, when do I want this leave? I'm going to have it from the 15th of June through to the 27th of June. 26th. Okay, so I'm going to take 2 weeks of leave. Why do I want it? Shopping in Singapore. Maybe not. And it also allows for files to be uploaded. So for things like personal leave, they can actually upload a certificate. So now that I've done that, I can save it. It gives it a number and submit it. And that is now being sent to my manager to approve. So from there, I can actually also, as a manager, come in and have a look at all the leave that's sitting there waiting, and if it needs to be approved, it can be approved. I've got a couple here already that have been approved and are ready to pay. I've got one here that's been approved but it's not been processed, and this one here that's open that is waiting to be approved. So I can actually go into that as their manager and, it hasn't been submitted yet. Okay, submit it. I might have to go to the approvals. Might not be. I missed that one. Might have to come in. I'll have to work on that one. Sorry, guys. Within the leave administration area, I know I can actually approve it. So here, it's automatically approved. That's right, I've got it set up to automatically approve. That's why it didn't need the approval. Okay, so what's happened is that the manager, if there's approvals in there, would actually approve those leaves. and then it would then come into the payroll side of things for the payroll administrator or to come in and see what's come through and what do they actually require. So from here, what can happen then is if everything's okay, they can be sent over to be ready to be taken, and then as the pay run actually comes into play, it will slowly be pulled down into the various pay runs. So I can now come here. Maybe you want to do this month by month, just as it comes along, or just send it through automatically. I'll leave a couple here and ready to pay. 2 errors. Because status incorrect action. To pay. I might have clicked them already. Okay, they're already ready to approve, so I overclicked. Okay, so on the other side, it actually shows day by day the leave and how it's going to come into the actual pay run. So that's now ready awaiting. So really at this point, all that would have to happen is that you go into your pay run and pull down the leave for the pay groups. Import leave. So that now will bring in the leave. If you had any, this person didn't have any. They don't have one. Pay, net pay, tax free. No, but Matthew had some. Yep, so his leaves come in. So we've got some personal leave here ready to go. So that's now come through from that leave application that was put in by the employee. That really is a simple part, presented in a simple way, and from what can happen now also is that you can use this on your mobile phones and tablets by downloading the actual app to actually run it, and then the employee would just log in and get access to this and also access to timesheets as well, which has been there for a little while. So what we need to be having a look at, what else do we need to see? All right, so the next area that I do want to cover is actually the timesheeting. This is timesheets are able to come through. Let me just get my PowerPoint back up again. Okay, so timesheets are able to actually come through from external applications, importing the times of the employees, and also coming through the actual time and expenses portion of MYOB Advanced. So both areas can bring timesheets in and then be managed and then sent through to the actual pay runs that they apply to for the staff and their pay groups. As long as the mapping is being completed, so that's saying the external applications payroll information is matched to the employees' payroll information within the system, then it will automatically take, once uploaded, will take the data and push it through to the actual pay run. So if we take a look at that, as far as the data mapping is concerned, there's 3 areas that you need to map: the employee, the pay item, and if you're using sub-accounts. So if you're in a situation where you've got time being used on site and multiple sites visited during the day, and each one of your sites is a sub-account, then you can bring through timesheets for the 2 hours, the 4 hours, the 6 hours that you've spent on each sub-account, and then you can actually map the sub-account for, I don't know if I did it here, yes I did, match the sub-account for your system outside of Advanced, and also the payroll system for the sub-accounts. So you're able to then match your sites or your jobs or whatever it is that you're using your sub-accounts for, and bring in the hours associated with those locations. So this is beyond just having posting classes, which is separating your staff more rigidly. This is more of a multiple jobs or sites in a day. Pay items. Again, all you have to do is map the ones that are needed for what is actually going to be used within the data transfer. So things like terminations and unpaid leave and that, you don't need to worry about mapping because that's going to be coming through from the external source. Certain leave will be overtime, will be possibly not back pay, but I just put it in there. So really all you need to do is map the ones that will be used. So you've got the flexibility of having different pay item codes in your external system. Employees, same thing here. You only need to map the employees that are going to be doing the timesheets. All right. So once you've got the mapping in place, then it's just a matter of importing in the timesheets from your external source and bring it in, and you'll see at this point there's only one line that's been mapped, as in connected together, and it's just really a matter of coming in here and telling it to map the imported data, and we'll go away and find through that data mapping table the pay item that is in your import, the pay item that you've got it set up, the employee. I didn't even need to have to put in employee names. Right, all I needed is the actual employee code, the dates of when the work occurred, how much time was spent, and I haven't used any sub-accounts, so what that means is going to just use the default posting classes for my staff. This one here, Ming, hasn't actually been mapped for a particular reason. We'd have to find, yes, look at the spell. The way the data came in was fake data. It didn't match any of the pay items. So to actually match it, you can come here and just edit it and then save it and map it. And now it matches. So it's flexible enough also to add lines in here one by one if you wanted to bring it in from your advanced timesheets or bring it in from your external timesheeting programs. All right. From this point, really, it's a matter of then coming into the payroll area and, again, importing the timesheets like we did with the leave. All right, so where's my open pay, manage pays, go into my open pay, and again, action, import timesheets. I can, hopefully, fingers crossed. Okay, so what I should see now is more time that's come in. Okay. All right, so that's the timesheet area. What have we got next on our list, just to make sure I'm covering the bits I plan to? Okay, that's my leave. All right. So if we have a look at our PowerPoint, there's that's right. Okay, so there's this validate pay run changes. What that does is actually, and I think that's a really good feature, is that when you actually open up, when you have your pay run here, and I have to do it from next level. Yeah. See it where it is. Reports. No. Explore. No. I can't find it. Maybe I'll have to find out where that is. But what it does do is it does actually balance up and say, okay, this is all the imported time that came in, and this is all the time and pay items that were in the system that are outside of the import, and you can then go through and check to make sure that everything has imported as expected. So what I will do is go to now back to the PowerPoint and have a look at reporting. All right, our favourite area that we found has always been quite lacking. We've over time put in some of our own reports for you, but now hopefully there's been some gaps that have actually been filled by what MYOB has produced and provided, which includes, there's only really 4 areas that they've given us reports, given us a pay activity summary, pay activity detail, some entitlement movements and employee details. But what they have done is provided those reports, those as actual reports that are PDF style. They've provided pivot tables and data tables. So you can actually use those data tables for taking outside of the system as Excel and analysing it how you wish, and the pivot tables report on those data tables. So if we have a look at that, what I have got is, if we come down, all right, if we take the pay activity summary report, it gives us the selections that we want, and if we go for the date range, let's go just to where my data is, and then I can run the report. At the moment, what it's done is given me a summary by branch of the various components of pays. If I come back and take off my branch, I then, no, that's total. Dear. Run. All right. I've played with those. Oh, the dates. You end up with demonstration data. Dates are very important to find it. Okay, so there's by pay run. I think that where you'll find it a lot better is if we go to the actual detailed area, have a look at the data that comes in the detailed component, and what we can do then is pull up. Now, what this report is doing is it has brought in those fields with those new, but what it does do, it means that until you're ready to actually bring this data through, it won't actually produce data on your grid, which means that you can set up all your conditions, then release it, and it will only bring the data through at that time rather than having to wait from the very beginning before you actually start generating information. So what I've got here now is all the information about pays for the employees, including accounts and sub-accounts. And from there, now that I've set up my data sheet, I can come and run the pivot table, and I've got it here. And from here, what I can do is bring it out. So I've only got my employee totals. I can bring in department and bring the department. So now I'm running by department and employee. Pull out my employee and see my totals by department, department by pay run. So oh, I missed that. Pay run. So it becomes very, very flexible for all that reporting that you require for summaries and totals. I found the detailed one a lot better to play with, but you may find that the summary will give you what you require as well, to the point that you can actually bring it right down to pay run by employee. Oh, anyway, you can play to your heart's content with this. I think I'll put it up here. All right, so, and this is giving every single pay item that has been actually used in the pay runs for the selection that you're doing. So you can twiddle it around so that you actually bring it here by employee across. Yeah, it's there for you to play with. Now, what else is really good is this entitlement movement. All right, entitlement movement. Okay. The report itself. Which breaks it up by person and the leave they've taken for that period of time. And again, it's good for visual and having a look, but I again think that we're going to get a lot more out of it when we use it in use the data in the pivot table instead, because various people require various information, and most likely it's about validating how much leave has somebody actually taken when they took the leave, rather than by pay item, rather than by person and pay run and things like that. So again, we'll take out the employee and we can narrow it down for the entitlement, but what we can do is come here with the pivot table and start looking at it from the pivot level. And this is going to be the much better way to look at it, and I would take out the pay run because, again, I want it by person, by actual entitlement. So very, very flexible, including the value, which will be value as at today's rate. What is also very good, and again, employee details in a report form, but I'm going to go straight to the data, which is looking at all the components that are collected within the pay area for your staff, which you can then do statistical information, look at checking calendars, have they got the right address, doing mail out, phone call, checking phone numbers. It's all there for you to use. Export to Excel, filter on it at this level if you want to just do quick interrogations. but this is here. Now, termination summary. All right, and the last one here, which is I'm introducing now because it's a report, is termination summary, which will look at all the people when they were terminated. Let's see what happens. In the pay run, that's right. Within the pay run, now I don't know which pay run I've got terminations in, sorry, to actually look at what their termination ETP payment looks like. And this is actually available out of the pay run when you terminate an employee, so you can actually print this out as a summary of their termination components. Well needed. So we'll look at that in a second in more depth. Okay, let's just check that we've covered. All right, I've covered those. Now, terminations. We could go on forever with this, and there is actually a white paper that goes into more depth with terminations, but this area that's coming to the into these features in this version, I haven't really found clearly stated in that documentation, so it'll be a combination of the white papers and the information within the new features to pull together everything that's associated with terminations. But the main things that have come in between recently and with this version 2020 is that you're able to now put a service break into people's employment so that they haven't been terminated, but they are actually and not going to be getting leave, and the years of service get put on hold for it as well. I'll show you in a second. The other area is the termination summary report, which can be printed out from the current pay of the person being terminated. Along with that, there's been a number of new pay items that have been created that are for the purposes of termination, and along also some new general ledger purposes. The other thing that you have to be very aware of is that with this version, I believe now they've resolved the problem of not being able to put a liability account into the unused leave general ledger purpose area for posting. So we should be able to get and have unused leave being taken out of the provision account as it's supposed to. I haven't fully tested that yet. So when we start talking terminations, I'll probably put out some more information regarding this, and no doubt we need to make sure that everybody's termination area has been revamped and is up to date with how the system actually works now, so that you're using it to the best of its capabilities to this date. So we'll carry on with that, I think, more on an individual basis as required when it comes up. So if we have a quick look, really, let's have a look at employees. Really, if we go into the employee, what actually occurs is that within your employment history area, what you can do is you generally have been keeping track of their positions that they've actually been, your staff have been working at and doing. What you can do then is put a position, I guess, employment break, and then you tick this service break tick box, and then that portion start to end will be excluded from the years of service when calculating things like long service leave. So that's the purpose of it. straightforward, but it's just a matter of remembering it. I think when people maternity leave, extended leave, those sort of things where your length of service has been disrupted. Now, what the only other area, new pay items, we'll just work with those. All right. Let's get on to a little bit some other things. We've done reporting. Oopsie. Okay, processing public holidays. Something we've wanted, especially now we've got a lot of you with a lot of staff, is to be able to put in the public holidays and keep track of them. This is for the purpose of public holidays paid but not worked. And there's a bit of setup that's involved with it. What really is that within Advanced, only Christmas, Boxing Day, Australia Day, the national holidays have been entered into the system. Any other public holiday, you will have to actually put in yourself because it's a matter of what applies to your business. So if we take a look at a work calendar, we can come and have a look, and exceptions. So here is where you actually would add, let's go to a year, 2020, any additional public holidays that apply to all or some of your staff. And you can actually mark them if it's a work day as well. So if people are working, then it will do its thing, goods moving, general calendar things, 7-day operations, that sort of situation. But the main thing is that it will now actually identify, if you put a date range in for Queensland Labor Day, then you can actually bring up all the actual public holidays that apply. Let's go for January 26th. My pay week. 25. I think I've actually processed the calendar. I think what I've done is I've actually processed all my Australia Day ones. So I've actually processed the Australia Day ones. Let's see if I can get up January 1st. Let's do that. Yeah, I think I've actually processed too many. Yep, here they all are. All right, so it's now come in, and it will actually, you can remove anybody who it doesn't apply to, and the rest, what you'll do is, again, as we did before, pull it into the pay run. So everything now you generate, and then you pull it into the pay run that you actually need it for. So I've got here import public holidays. So that now means you've got a lot more control. And again, if you just want to ad hoc build that public holiday table, because there's only a small number of people that will have that public holiday, like the various show days around the country, then you can just add person by person into that section for those public holidays. So if we now actually have a look a little bit further, distributing superannuation costs, what that really is talking about is that if we take an employee, if we actually generally split their costs into different sub-accounts, so what I'm doing is my salary and wages, I have 60570, and I can now do this and put this for 22 hours, 10 hours there, and the rest balance to the other. Then what I can do now is, I've got super on here. Okay, super. I can then say, saved. I can then go action, distribute super cost. And what that does is match what I did with the ordinary pay for the super in proportion. So that's apportioned the cost for what I put in those 10 hours, or apportion the super as well. So that allows for also doing, matching your cost centres for your wages, which you can bring in those cost centres for your wages through the timesheets. All right. All right, the other area which I want to really bring up really quickly is the standard pays bring up some performance things, which are that the standard pay recalculation. What's happening now with this version is if you make a change to somebody's standard pay when you've got a pay run open, what you'll have to do is also update this, run the standard pay recalculation before you can proceed. So what this does is then push through any changes that have actually occurred with standard pays that will impact pay rates and things like that for the staff. All right, so I think the idea of it is to actually make changes after when you've got no pay runs open, but this is now making aware that there has been changes rather than just having random changes pop up as you're trying to do your pay runs. And I think that'll be, again, if it arises, we'll get the phone calls here and we'll walk you through as required for that. The other thing quickly will be that when we're actually in managed pays, having a look at, sorry, let's go back. We get now being able to set your date range for your pay runs rather than having to muck around with the pay runs at the top of the screen. And when you're actually in your pay, adding a new employee, it's much better. Tick here, save and close. So it's a window that we're more used to using than the other, where as soon as we double-click something, you have to go back and redo it. So they've tidied these two areas up nicely for us to make it a lot more consistent throughout the system. Now, the last thing, which I don't know how many will need it, is employee transfer. And employee transfers are about moving staff from one cost centre to the other, and it will also move their entitlements of cost from one cost centre to the other, so that you don't have to manually journal things from your expenses for cost centre for sub-account A to a cost of sub-account B because people have transferred to a different department. And I think, again, when that's required, it'll be one of those things we'll do as needed. But it's just to remember, it allows now for moving cost centres of your staff without having to manually do journals. This will create the journals for you to shift it across. So that now is the end of what I wanted to. Nearly the end. What I wanted to mainly cover, yes, but what I do want to do, we've talked about those, is just remind everybody. One is this link that's here, really important. It takes you to the Education Centre where you get release notes, you get white papers, you get links to actually videos of what MYOB has actually created. So here you have little simple videos of payroll and self-service, which will take you through quick things, a little bit about single touch payroll, a little bit about the self-service module that I've just been speaking about, a bit more. So making leave requests, it will take you through. So it's going to cover in a short video things that we've just spoken about. Okay? All right, so, oh, sorry, the white papers. The white papers is the last little bit that's really worthwhile. Okay, let's go back a level. And let's get back to, because so many people miss this. Okay, there's white papers here for a lot of things, all right, including payroll, GST. Okay, so just take some time and have a good look at it. And here's my termination document, single touch payroll. So don't forget about this area as well as your help. Okay. I think now I can say how to get in touch with us. Okay, I was just going to have a quick chat with you, and then if there's any questions, we can take on some questions. If you want to actually post them onto chat, in the meantime, I'll take a look at them, and we can go from there.
Hey, thank you, everybody. We have had a couple of comments that there was a lot of background noise. If that's the case, apologies for that. We're happy to waive the charge for the webinar if the audio was not good. Hopefully you have still been able to see what you needed to see. We'll take any questions, so if you want to unmute your phone and fire away with your questions, I'm happy to take questions. Oh yes, hello Mike.
Yes. When are we going to be able to link payroll processing to projects? Is that something in your radar, or it's not something which you're not going to have in the near future?
It is on MYOB's roadmap to consider down the track, Micah. I can't give you a firm date on that. The current design is that the cost of labour is recorded against the project at the time entry stage rather than at the payroll processing stage. That's the current design.
Okay. And will there be any licensing issues on employee access to self-service features?
Sorry, could you repeat that question?
Will there be any licensing required for the self-service feature for employees?
No, I don't believe so. We're just clarifying that with MYOB, that it's covered under the existing payroll license. That's my understanding, but we're just confirming that at the moment, and we will be communicating that information to you. All right, thank you everybody. We will be having another webinar. We'll be doing those monthly from now on, so I hope that you've gained something from that. As you can tell from what Kathy went through, there is a bit of setup for the employee self-service, so we're happy to help you with any of that. And just contact us when you're ready to do it. Thanks everybody.